Hi,
Hi
gentlemen.
guys, welcome, Wapiti Wednesday live Q&A for June 5th. All right, so 2 weeks ago we kind of went through some uh, OnX hunt tools, so that are available on the desktop and on the phone. One of those tools was the trail camera tool. So if you haven't watched that yet, go back and watch that replay. So Memorial Weekend went out and tested that um, trail camera tool out in the field. It was really cool that as soon as I set a camera, I just went to the trail cameras, add that camera, said place in field, and then I updated the SD card to that date, and I also put the direction that that camera was facing. Then when I got home, I jumped on the computer, and man, I can see all the cameras, and it shows me actually on the camera which direction that camera is facing because I set it out in the field. It was a successful trip. We placed four cameras, went into two areas that I had marked as potential areas. One of those areas we did drop a camera, and I filmed a video because you guys, hear me talk about, oh, when you're out scouting in the spring, look for trails, look for rubs, right? Well, I did a video because it's a pretty prominent trail when the snow's just barely off of it. You can still see the trail from last year. Now, mind you, it's not all ground and powdered and churned up, but man, this area that we went into, we parked the General, rolled up a little bit, rolled around this face and hit one trail, and then we rolled that trail around the face and it connected to another one, which turned into a main trail that then dropped down into a basin and went around and crossed a creek. And I was like, oh, this creek crossing right here is a great place to put a camera. And then on the way out, we walked the other trail out and all of a sudden got into a bunch of rubs. Now, one of the things that I did differently is because I drop pins on rubs all the time. But what I did on this trip was I marked them as 2023 rub. So now I'm starting to establish years. So I went back through and all the rubs that I marked last year hunting. Well, I knew those were 2023 rubs, so I updated all of those. So now you can go in and you can create a historical data of rubs. The other place that we went in was where Bryce and I hunted in that Y Canyon the very last day of season, or the last couple of days where I got onto Growler. Growler's back in there because we hit a track that was probably like, I mean, it was monstrous. And I was like, holy crap, that's a big track. And it was cool because Knox went with us. And what Bryce and I did last time was work up the face, and then we found this old cut road that goes back. And all the way in the back, we found where they were crossing. And probably right there, there was seven rubs, and these weren't little rubs. This was definitely growler rubbing on this corner. And so we cleared a bunch of branches, and it's funny. Bryce was like, "Why don't you put a trail camera right in here where he's rubbing?" I'm like, "Because he's rubbing on every tree here, and he's gonna choose the tree that my camera is on. So no, I'm gonna post it back there a little bit, pointing towards this area." But so we're sitting there talking, and Bryce goes, "Well, are we going to go back out? Because the face had some pretty good trails that we can throw a camera on." And I said, "Well, I said Bryce, last year we just walked around this corner on the road and then popped up top. I'm kind of curious to see where this road goes." And Knox goes, "Guys, there's only one way to find out." And I'm like, the 12-year-old in the group is the wisest one. If you want to know where a road goes, there's only one way to find out, and that's take the road.
Follow the road.
Holy crap. We took that road and then we got onto a elk highway that is already powdered. I mean, just churned up. And you're talking all of a sudden we got into dark, heavy pines, an open, grassy little ridge, aspens, two really good flowing creeks and trails galore and two wallows. And I'm like, holy crap, Bryce, the way we came in here, we could climb up that face, hit that road. We could be here in 20 minutes, just like that. And so then we worked it on the way around and came down the other ridge. There was a major highway that was already churned up. And I know it's not cattle because the cattle haven't been released in there yet. So that's just from elk right now. So yeah, we've got 4 cameras out. Then we hit the motorcycle trail, which was still 96% covered with 3 to 5 feet of snow. But dang it, we
Wow.
made it. We made it 3/4 of a mile up there with our electric bikes. So
Wow.
so we didn't set any cameras up on the higher elevations, but yeah, it was a good weekend. We're not going to swap the cards out until Father's Day weekend. We'll give them a good solid 3 weeks. But of course, I've been sitting here going, why didn't I put cellular cams out? I want to know what's on there. What's on the cards? So, and of course, Bryce was like, "Are you going to bring your little 7-inch viewer up?" And I'm like, "No." He goes, "How are we going to know what's on the card?" I'm like, "I'm bringing my freaking laptop. So when we swap the cards out, we just come back to the trailer, grab a beer, and pop that thing in the laptop and look on a 17-inch screen instead of a 7." So, but anyways, so yeah, good, productive weekend. So, okay, tonight, thank you all for tuning in and heeding to my plea in the email about not letting me just sit here and talk to myself. So thank you for joining in so that I don't have to talk to myself. So, and obviously Larry once again got the email. So congratulations, Larry. We're a few weeks in a row of you actually getting the email coming in.
Absolutely. Amazing how it's working now.
Yeah, now that I switched back to constant contact instead of that old program or that other program. So, but
Yeah,
hey,
good.
it's all right. We still don't have any of the new people, but that's okay. Maybe one day. Actually, I'm kind of surprised because there was a new member that signed up just a few days ago. That he has done several lessons with me, and so I kind of halfway expected him to tune in. So, but maybe we will see him on a future episode. So.
Are you able to see when people look at like this, the one you say 2 weeks ago, you want me to go back and look at it? Can you see that I did look at it?
No,
Or you don't get that? You only see when we are progressing in the course.
yeah, I can see progressing in the course. I mean, it shows me the number of views, but it doesn't tell me who's viewed it. So the only thing I see is how far you guys are progressing in the course, or if you left a comment or anything like that. So or posted a question. So, but yeah, the last two, because 2 weeks ago I realized that I never posted the replay for the one before. So yes, those are both on there now. So anyways, so okay. So tonight is just general discussion, questions that you guys may have. And I figured since it was going to be you salty bunch tuning in again, because that's normally who it is, that you guys don't always have questions because you feel as though I've answered all your questions.
Yeah, it's been a few.
I found some questions online. So, therefore, if you guys don't have questions, we're just going to go answer somebody else's question.
Works for me.
I have a question, but I'm not sure that you can answer it.
When
Now
you
that's throwing down the
when
gauntlet.
you lead into a question, that creates
Pressure's
that
on now.
curiosity of okay,
Now
what's the
you're
question?
now you're curious. How long am I going to be able to walk up and down these hills? That's a discussion that Fritz and I have regularly. How long are we going to be able to do this?
You know what? As long as you are doing some sort of conditioning, as long as you're taking care of yourself and getting prepped, um, you can go for quite a while. I've got I got a buddy that his grandfather shot a bull during rifle season last year at the ripe old age of 82. So
Yeah.
now, mind you, it was in a draw, and most of the hunt was done via side by side. But he was able to walk some easier terrain to get out, but still at 82, he's still out.
82.
So
Yeah, that's good.
I don't know if it helps any at all, but I thought I could hunt till I was 70. I turned 79 this year, and I have a tag for this year. And I'm thinking maybe I can go to 85. And but I don't just go out there. I hunt 4:30 in the morning till dark every day, and it's just a matter of first good genetics and blessings, and conditioning and preparing for it.
exactly. And having salt in your veins, like Larry does, having a good, you know, saltwater mixture helps. So, all right.
Uh, hmm.
Good answers.
Yeah. Well, I just retired on Saturday, so
Did you really, Jim? From what?
Congratulations.
yeah, that's it.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Why
So,
did you do that?
Why did I do that?
Yeah.
It's where I was working was going to close up anyway, so I decided, I'm 65. I can do
Yeah.
it.
Okay. Congratulations.
But thank you. But I have some plants I'm doing on the side, so I made like $100 before 10:30 this morning. So there you go.
Okay, cool.
that works. See, now you can actually work for yourself and do things that you enjoy instead of working for a paycheck at something that you don't.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So,
But we have some years among us here because I'm 71.
There you go.
Sandy, how old are you?
Sandy is muted and blacked out.
Yep.
I think he went to sleep.
It's probably eating again. So,
Maybe with kids. Mhm.
or he doesn't want to answer the question because he knows he's the youngin. So,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
all right. So, I get ripped on for shooting elk from a tree stand the last 2 years. Should I just chalk it up to the babies crying because they don't shoot nice bulls? You know what? When it comes to elk hunting, there's so many different methods. If you want to go sit in a tree stand and actually I actually ran into a buddy of mine this weekend because I did a seminar on Saturday and I haven't seen him for a long time. That's actually how he used to hunt. He used to put a tree stand over a wallow and he would climb up in there and do some light calling. And you know what? That guy punched his tag every year. And not on just spikes, raghorns, or cows. I mean, he shot some dang nice wall hanger bulls. So if you want to go sit in a tree stand and hunt that way, and more power to you. So, because I'll tell you what, it takes a different degree of patience than what I have to sit in a tree stand over a wallow. Just can't do it. I think the longest I've ever lasted sitting in a wallow is 2 hours, and that was not in a tree stand. So,
There
Sandy
was
says,
there
I'm at
was
a
a guy.
tire factory getting my truck roadworthy. Going
Yep.
to just listen in.
Okay.
So,
No, I shot an elk out of a tree stand, and I didn't even have a wallow. I was just sitting in a tree stand. It was actually my friend's because he got drunk and didn't want to sit in it, believe it or not. So I sat in a tree stand, and the elk came down the mountain. The bull was behind, and I watched them down like 60, 70 yards to my left. They came right down, walked down this old logging road that was closed, walked right behind me, and I turned around and looked, and my boot got caught on the tree stand. There was no wallow there at all. And it went dong, came right up, stopped, looked right at me. I'm like, don't look in the eyes. Don't look in the eyes. I looked down, walked sideways 20 yards, right, right, right. That was it. Ran right around and fell on the road.
fell on the road.
Fell on the road, took the quad in, picked it up with a trailer, drove off.
So the tree stand was on the edge of the road.
No, it wasn't on the road. It was up maybe 30 yards off the road, but she came up to see what that noise was.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's an old logging road that was closed. Yeah,
perfect.
or
So
a fire break road, whatever it was. But
yeah,
yeah, tree
no,
stand.
those actually elk use those old cut roads for travel. I mean, that's ease of travel. I mean, that's elk will use the path of least resistance. So they'll use those old roads. That's why they go over saddles. So I mean, those are prime areas to find elk. So all right, when hunting thicker timber with only parks and meadows to glass in, how many miles do you hike in with no calls slash random bugles do you go before you're looking to move on to the next spot? So I I very rarely glass during season. I thicker timber is what I enjoy hunting. So I mean I'm from the time I leave the truck, I'm hunting. It's not I'm going to go a mile and a half and then start hunting. Because I mean there's some places. I mean you guys heard me talk about this new spot that we're at where we found beds 47 yards off of a main road, so a main gravel Forest Service road. So there's not really a set rule of how far to go. More so, the better answer on that is go until you find good sign, fresh sign. And if that's immediately, then start calling immediately. If it's 100 yards, 200 yards, 500 yards, a mile, whatever. But as soon as you get into good fresh sign, start. But yeah, my take on it from the moment you leave the truck, you you should be hunting. Whether it's leave the truck or camp or whatever. Soon as you step in. So wise man once told me that elk are where you find them. Pretty pretty good
Makes
knowledge right
sense.
there.
Is that Knox?
No, no, no. So well, I'll tell you what, that kid on those hikes, that hike too, we ended up doing about a 3 mile hike with almost 827 feet in elevation change, and he just barreled through all of it. It was great. And then we got back to camp, and then he was all interested in the electric dirt bike. He wanted to sit on it, and then he wanted to sit on the front and have me sit on the back and take him for a ride. And so yeah, it was pretty cool. So, all right. This is kind of the same thing, thick timber, aka brushy, rocky shithole. Walking miles to find elk, you calling the whole time as you're walking with cow calls and bugles, alternating and just sounding like an elk, or are you trying to sneak up on them and surprise them with a bugle? I'm calling as I'm moving. I'm snapping sticks. I mean, I'm making it sound like elk move through the woods. So they make sound as they're traveling. I'm making sounds. I'm just doing natural sounds. I'm going to rely more in that situation on cow sounds, just kind of herd talk with a random bugle. Um, and that's basically about it. I mean, just really the picture that I'm painting is it's a group of elk going through a travel corridor heading to their bedding ground. So, um, okay, here we go. When elk are close, as in I see in some YouTube videos, I see hunters actually talking to each other. Seems to me that you should be dead quiet and remain perfectly still. Is this accurate? No, you'll be surprised. The talking part, I mean, we don't really talk. We use hand gestures more than voice, but you don't need to stand as a statue. You will be amazed at how much movement that you can get away with. In fact, that's one of the things that a question that I was asked at the seminar this Saturday is when's the best time to draw your bow? So And it seems because we were talking about hunter mistakes, and I didn't say newbie mistakes, I said hunter mistakes because these are mistakes that everybody makes. We all, when we set up, we have it in our head which direction that bull's going to come from, which trail he's going to hit, which tree or bush he's going to walk by that's going to allow us to draw, where he's going to stop perfectly broadside and have this perfect shot, and we have it mapped out in our head. The number of times that that actually happens is very slim. In fact, what happens a lot of times is when that bull gets to that draw, we end up doing something that he sees some sort of movement, and then we come to full draw and he stops. With that tree blocking his vitals or that bush blocking his vitals, and then the stare down is on, where you're sitting there at full draw just waiting for him to take a step, and then you're holding that bow for a minute, over a minute, your arm starts shaking, you know you can't execute the shot at that point, so you let down. I know this because I have done this several times throughout my career of drawing, because it's like, oh, there he is at my draw tree. In fact, once I jerked back so hard it pulled the arrow off the rest, that bull steps out at 6 feet, and I have my finger on the arrow trying to put it back up on the rest as he's right there at 6 feet. So now what's kind of crazy is, and I've talked about this before in your setup, if you're in the shadows and you have something breaking up your outline, if you do slow, methodical movements, you can get away with it. In fact, Pitchfork, he stood there looking at me at 18 yards straight on and watched me draw my bow, anchor, and hold the pin on him for quite a while before I decided to shoot. So I have actually kind of changed a little bit, that I will wait until that bull is in the open in my shooting lane before I draw, because he's still scanning the area. So if you're moving slow and methodic, and as soon as I anchor, I'm cow calling. Now here's the deal. Question came up. Great. Okay, you do that. The bull's going to spook. Okay. He may. But elk have a very distinctive trait that if they don't know what spooked them, they will turn and wander off 15, 20 yards. You can cow call and stop them. And what do you think they always do when they stop?
Turn around and look.
Outside.
They turn perfectly broadside. So now instead of a 20-yard shot, maybe you have a 40-yard shot or a 35-yard shot. Still very, very, very doable. So this just kind of goes with early on where we kind of rush the situation because we don't think that, oh, he's not gonna get any closer, or man, there's my one and only opportunity. So you have a lot more opportunities and a lot more time than what you think. And unfortunately, the only way we learn this lesson is through time and experience. Because it's one of the toughest things. I mean, you've been working your butt off, hiking up the hills, covering all this country, getting into these, and then finally you have a bull that's coming in that read the script and doing what he's supposed to do. And everything goes out the window because now it's like, okay, I got to make this happen. You get all excited. So it's okay to just go ahead and stay calm, which I know is easier said than done, but it is one of those things that really comes with time and experience and going through the process. That's why I'm so excited. In fact, Liz is sitting on the couch downstairs right now on her phone doing her bow hunter's education. So, in fact, she got into one question. She's like, I don't know what is this? And so I'm reading it and I read the answers and I'm like, well, what do you think it is? And she goes, well, I'm asking you. And I'm like, I'm not the one that read the section. I'm not taking this course. Yeah, but you're the official Idaho bow hunters education instructor. Like
Yes,
doesn't mean I'm taking the test for you. I gave her the answer.
Mhm.
So, all right. Okay. You draw a good out-of-state archery elk tag, and one part of the unit offers dark timbered areas that aren't glassable but should hold elk. And the other part of the unit has big, steep, more sparse open areas that are better for glassing the country that should also hold elk. Where are you choosing to spend your time and why? This one, it's kind of a loaded question because it really depends on what type of hunt you want to do. Do you want to get in the thick timber and chase them and call and do all that? Or do you want to sit up high in glass open areas and figure out their patterns and then move around and cut them off? It really, really depends. For me, if this is an out of state area and say I have 10 days to hunt, I'm going to spend one day. So the first 2 days, I'm going to spend one day in each area to see which one holds more population of elk. Whichever one holds the higher population, that's where I'm going to focus my time because it's a numbers game. Plus, glassing, again, I don't have the patience to sit there and glass for elk. So I want to get in, I want to mix it up, I want to communicate with them. So, um, but I would spend the first 2 days, one day in each of those two, just to kind of see what numbers look like. Now, if numbers are about even, then you know what? I may trade. I may hit the heavy timber really hard one day, and the next day it's like, okay, I need to rest a little bit. That was pretty hard on my body. I'm going to go glass and work that area, and then jump back and forth. It's a good way to work both areas. It's a good way to let the body rest. But then when it comes down towards the latter part of the hunt, you really need to focus on what your strengths are, whether that's the heavy timber and calling or glassing, and there's neither one way that's more effective than the other. Both are very, very successful. So
The last couple of years, we've gone out without taking binoculars most of the time and relied on calls, location bugles, cow calls to get a response, to hear where they're at and work our way that way, and then start coming in slowly, watching for movement.
yeah, I do.
Besides, less
I,
to
I,
carry.
I do the same thing. I still will wear my bino harness, but my binos aren't in it. I use that bino harness pouch to, hold stuff like the game changer or some external read calls or gummy bears or, something like that. You got to have snacks readily available on there.
Yeah.
So,
And the reason we did that, or at least I did that, would not carry the binoculars. My pistol's right here.
yep.
Hmm.
Yeah. Same thing. Mine's my pistol holster, my rangefinder holder, my phone holder. Yeah, I've got pockets for each of those. So,
You can fit a lot more snacks in a bino harness without the binoculars.
Yeah, you sure can.
did you guys know that actually gummy bears are a good source of carbohydrates and a quick burst of energy?
I'll tell you what really works really well
Know
is
that.
those oh crap, what are they? Gatorade bars, the little Gatorade energy bars. We were hauling an elk out one time on my back, and I was about beat. And I remember my wife gave me one. I ate that thing within a minute. I was like, "What are you guys doing? Let's go!"
Will Wilderness Athlete actually has something that's called a quick bite, which is a small little square that same thing, protein, carbs, and enough sugars just to give a good boost, and they taste really, really good. But yeah, it was a I was listening to a podcast about working out, and it was I think it was the Mountain Tough podcast, but they actually sat there and said that if you feel like your energy level is low before you head to the gym, just grab a small handful of gummy bears. It's a good source of carbohydrates and a quick boost of energy, that will give you the energy you need, because it's not a delayed energy source. It's an instant energy source, but not too bad. I was like, oh, see, I can eat gummy bears. It said so right there. So I'm not really a big gummy bear fan. Liz is. So, all right, here we go. Is it better to sound like Doug Flutie or to sound lifelike?
Doug Flutie or who?
Or lifelike?
Oh, electric.
Yeah.
Practice, practice,
Practice,
practice.
practice, practice.
Actually, I got into this conversation this weekend at the seminar, um, because somebody made a very good point. They're like, with the popularity of elk hunting growing and growing, you have more people that are, you know, getting proficient with diaphragm reeds and bugle tubes, and you have a lot of people that are out there bugling, and it seems like everybody wants the largest, loudest tube. And the last couple of years, I've actually been going the opposite direction. So I actually pulled out that tube that I built last year with the Primos Blue Snap-on reed, and I'm like, I'm kind of starting to get softer on my bugles, and my ratio is kind of changing a little bit. Changing more cow sounds with the bugles, but when I do the bugles, it's with something like that tube that's not as loud. Or when I use a diaphragm reed, I'm really dialing back the air pressure and dialing down the volume a little bit. And I've noticed that getting more responses. In fact, there was a couple of days last year that I'm like, okay, we're gonna do some testing. We're gonna go out one day with this tube, which is max volume ring across the canyon, and then we're gonna go out another day into the same area with something that's a little quieter. And we got more responses on the quieter bugle day than we did on the loud in your face bugle. So still testing that theory, going to test it some more this year, but you guys have heard me talk on the cow sounds, definitely turning that volume way down on the cow sounds. Um, just because that's what I'm seeing the elk doing, and hearing the elk doing. So
On that line, Michael, you know Travis O'Shea,
I know Travis very well.
and Travis is a big proponent of huff, grunts, and whines and light bugles. He says he does that 90% of the time.
If only there was a video in the elk calling mastery blueprint course that talks about huffs, grunts, and whines, and how actually that is a sound that I use a majority of the time too.
Yep, there you go.
No, it's and in fact, so here's one of the other things that I was talking about, or a couple of other things that I was talking about this weekend, because I was thinking about last year, that morning when I was sitting there, and Growler and Whistler and everybody was coming off the private and they were heading my direction. I started calling. I started making noise. And it kind of seemed to me like they were starting to veer more to the south to hit a different ridge. Where, especially now that I know after the ridge I walked down, seeing that trail, which was right above, where I was set up on this, I was like, man. So you've seen the elk do this in a couple of days already. They feed out there, they flood across, they hit this, and then they go up and feed. Your position there, which is where they're going to walk through. Why did you make any sounds? It would have been fine if you just did a couple of soft cow calls, but why did you cow call and why did you bugle? So I got to thinking, okay, I'm going to test it this year, that I'm going to set up in that same place. When I hear them coming off of the private, I'm going to button my lip. I'm not going to say a dang word. If they're already heading your direction, why do you need to make a sound? Now, mind you, this is all completely different than my whole entire career and what I've done elk hunting. But I also talk about leave the elk in their normal pattern as long as you can so that they're always there. So if I can set up and have them come right to me, and I don't have to climb the face of that mountain to go chase them, I can get them down here. Now, the thing is, I'm going to let them come all the way, and then when we're on the same elevation, then I'm going to make a sound. So, and it may be just some cow sounds. Then when that bull bugles, then I'm going to do some huffs and grunts and in light reeking, some low audible sounds, especially early in the year, because I'm not tipping my hand, I'm not tipping my voice. He's not going to sit there and go, I don't know who that dude is. I mean, yeah, that's huffs, grunts, and whines are going to create that curiosity of, okay, who is this? Who's over here raking? I'm not threatening. I'm not, because I mean, really, I haven't gathered enough information to really know what his demeanor is. I mean, he's bugling because he's at the back of the herd because they're on the move, and that's what bulls do. They bugle when they're on the move like that. But so yeah, I'm going to test that and see how that works. So, like I
That's the
said,
problem. That's the problem with trying to do that. Some people, most people, can't stand it. They gotta do something. I just gotta do this.
Michael, in that same vein, I had a gobbler coming toward me from 150 yards away last year, and I didn't do anything. I just waited, and the gobbler kept coming and kept coming and kept coming, and I shot it. I was just sitting there.
because it's one of those things that we talked about a few weeks back was, it's easier to call a bull 40 yards over than it is 400 yards. So if he already gets up on the same elevation in one little call, he can roll 40 yards from his cows to take a peek at who's over there. Well, guess what? Now you're in my effective shooting range. I'm dumping you. So, yeah.
If he's already coming your way, eh, if you call, whether you cow call or bugle, what do you expect to change? Because they're already coming. The only thing that would make sense that would change is they're going to avoid you.
No, I'm trying to make them come faster. Let them know, hey, there's elk here. Come join the party. So, no, I mean that was just the calling aspect of it. It was like, oh, I'm gonna answer back, and so yeah, I was replaying all that, and I thought, I mean, to me, I thought they veered because the hound hunters came down the road, but then the more I thought about it, is they had already veered their travel pattern when I started calling. So they were already veering. It had nothing to do with the hound hunters and stuff. So again, that just goes against my hauling them into my toes approach. So, all right, you guys will get a kick out of this one. It's kind of a long one, and it cracks me up. What are your thoughts on the different styles of calling? For example, the elk nut, talking about listening or learning the sounds and knowing what to say. Thank you for saying that elk nut's the only one that teaches that. Joel Turner's concept of mammal's intuition and using the bull calling cow's bugle. Other people have different names for it. For example, the lip ball, etc. So, thoughts on the different styles of calling. We've talked about it. There's the aggressive style, there's the cow only style, there's learning the sounds, understanding their temperature. The way I look at it is the more knowledge you have, the better off you're going to be. The more flexibility that you have, the better off you're going to be. Don't pigeonhole yourself into just one style or one approach to calling, because really if you have all that knowledge and all those different styles, you're going to be so much better because you can adapt your calling to that situation, and your chances for actual call-ins increase dramatically. So knowledge is power. So I think there was another part. Oh, when going after a herd bull, this is all part of the same one. When going after a herd bull, what do you feel is most important in your opinion? Is it more important with what you're saying, tone of how you're saying it, distance from the bull, calling more or calling less, or more of a stock approach on the herd bull? So
All less and get as close as you can before you make a noise.
there we go. So get as close as you can, start calling, match his tone, match his aggressive level. The thing you need to remember on a herd bull is if he has a hot cow, the chance of you pulling that herd bull away from that hot cow is extremely slim. So this is where that knowledge comes in, and understanding the vocalizations, because you will immediately recognize, nope, he's got a hot cow. I don't have a chance with this guy today. I'm going to back out, go find another bull, and if need be, come back in tomorrow and go after this guy again when he doesn't have a hot cow, and my chances of calling him in are much, much higher. But if you don't have that knowledge, if you don't have that understanding of all that, you're not going to recognize that, and you're going to spend hours bugling back and forth with that dude. Because if he's got a hot cow, there's going to be a lot of bugling activity, and you're going to have a great day. You're going to come back to camp and you're going to tell your buddies about the scream fest that you got into for 4.5 hours. Your tongue is raw from the diaphragm reed because you did so much bugling with this guy, but god dang it, he was hot. He just, something just wasn't right, because he never would come to me. So, but if you come back the next day when he doesn't have a hot cow, yes, get as close as possible to him. And if you do get into a screaming fit, match his tone, match his intensity, and go over the top of him. You know, we've talked about offensive versus defensive style calling. Be offensive, bugle over the top of him, control that situation, control the lip balls, control the challenges. Always put that ball in his court to where he's the responder, and go that. So, okay.
Michael, I have one for you.
Finally, I don't have to read any more of these because that was the last question.
So recognizing I'm hunting Washington State, which is not very good hunting. So we're going to preface it with that. Would you choose to hunt a unit where you can shoot any elk, but there's not a lot of them, or go to a unit that's spike only, but there's lots of elk?
Okay, one more time.
Okay, would you go to a unit that's any elk,
Okay.
but there's not very many of them? So you're going to have a hard time just finding an animal. Or go to a unit that there's lots of elk, but it's a spike only unit.
Lots of elk, spike only. I like eating elk. So horns look good on the wall, but they don't cook up very well, and they're a little tough. So especially if you're new with not a lot of experience, go to where there's going to be a high number of elk, where the likelihood of you getting a shot is going to really be more advantageous, and you can get that experience. Guys, I just got a message. Well, it came in a little bit ago. By the way, I'll be in Boise Monday through Friday next week. Was wondering if you have time/interested in meeting up. Also wanted to see if you would read this while on live video, LOL.
You read it.
I read it. So, Mr. Sandy, are you coming back in town for work?
Yeah, I found out Monday I'm going to be all there all next week. So
Now you guys know who wanted me to read that live, because
We do, we do.
He's on. So, yeah, just hit me up when you're in town, and most definitely we'll see about meeting up again. So
Cool. Sounds fun.
maybe this time we won't go to Rudy's on a Tuesday when they're closed on a Tuesday, and can actually go to the first place that we try to take you to and not have to go search for another restaurant. So. Okay, but yeah, Sandy, go to the spike unit. Just get that experience of calling in an elk, executing the shot, seeing the arrow go through the elk, the tracking process, the breaking down. There is just so much valuable information that you can gain through that process. Plus, like I said, I like eating elk, and spikes are really good because they don't have that older bull toughness to them yet.
Mhm.
The other thing is I'm likely going to have knee surgery between now and season, so I'm going to be not very mobile. So, and I know that spike unit, there's a couple good wallows, so I may end up just having to sit and watch a wallow.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing at all.
You'll be out there. You'll be hunting.
Yeah,
Good luck with that knee surgery, Sandy.
yes.
Yeah,
Now he said maybe.
well,
Don't
he did say maybe.
maybe. So okay. Well, that's it. Since nobody else has any questions,
I
so
just have a comment. You said something earlier about, was how far do you go into the forest before you start bugling, or, a mile or whatever? I've actually bugled from camp in the afternoon, just sitting at camp, goofing around. Had a bull bugle across the street. Everybody gets ready to go. They're going like, "Where are you going?" I go, I'm going across the street. Going
yeah,
across the street.
yeah,
Nobody else does. I'm like, well, they're
Mhm.
over there.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I don't know how many times have I been sitting in camp and having them, bugling from camp, sitting in a gravity, zero gravity lawn chair with
Mhm.
my tube bugling and bugling back and forth to them. So,
Yeah.
yeah, see, elk are where you find them.
Yeah.
Besides, today's society is all about going deep. I actually listened to a podcast yesterday or last week. Somebody was actually talking about that, and they used my full term of the no-go zone, where you only have so many people to go this far and then back, and these people that are going, so you have this no-go zone where nobody's going. And I'm like, don't you? I should have trademarked that term. People listening to podcast I'm on and copying my stuff. Flattery is, or imitation is the best form of flattery. Is that what it is? I don't know,
Yeah.
but that's
Yeah.
okay. So, but yeah, they're where you find them. I mean, I don't know how many times the old spot that we were hunting before we moved this year that we would go, and we had a place we had parked the generals, and we'd go out and hike. We would climb up and hike all day long and come back, and every single time there was fresh tracks that went right by our generals. In fact, I always joke with these guys, and I said, I'm done hiking. I'm going to park the general right here. I'm going to go 10 yards up that hill and just sit there where I can watch this road and this general, and I'm going to sit here all day long.
What is the general, Michael?
Polaris general side by side.
Oh, Polaris, okay.
Polaris general side by side, yes.
Got it.
But yeah, I never did, because once again, I can't sit there patiently enough, because I know when I'm sitting there, I'm hearing a bugle up on the hill behind me. I know for a fact. He's not there anymore when I get up there, but dang it, he was up there bugling. I know for a fact that, because I heard him in my mind. So
Welcome to the club.
oh no, I hear bugles everywhere. So, but okay. So, do you guys remember the native by Carlton tube that I helped Mark design that just came out last year? It has
Is
the
that the one
acrylic,
I bought?
yep, it has the acrylic mouthpiece in it.
Yes.
Mark just called me Monday. He reached the agreement with HS Strut. So the Mac Daddy push button bugle that HS had, that Mac Daddy mouthpiece was actually Wayne Carlton's doing and putting that together. Mark reached an agreement with HS so that Mac Daddy, he's not going to have them until July, but you will be able to twist out, you know how that acrylic mouthpiece comes out? You can pop that acrylic mouthpiece, that Mac Daddy push button is going to slide right into that tube. And he's actually developing a flared piece right now, because right now it's a small deal on that mouthpiece on that Mac Daddy. He's developing a flared piece for it so that you will be able to lip ball and do everything else on that push button.
Good, good, good.
So as soon as he has them, he's going to shoot one to me in July. So we'll do some playing around with that. So that will be another option that I will play with this year also, because that Mac Daddy, it hits a pretty good tone, especially with that flared piece. To now you can lip ball and do all that stuff.
Tell him you need two.
I need two. Okay.
Wait, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6 with yours.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of mine. Oh, yes.
With yours. Yeah.
Yeah. I know. And yeah, of course. Well, Bryce really doesn't want one because he just knows he just needs to look for my blue bag and yeah, there's the blue bag right there. So those guys know just look for the blue bag. Of course, I still need to do more testing with that thing. So
You need to get a red bag or something.
yeah, mix it up or find a better place to hide the blue bag.
Over that.
Change your bag to a different color.
Yeah.
Because the first thing they do is go in and grab reeds and tubes and
Well, put gummies in the blue bag.
yeah. Edibles from Ontario.
Yes.
All right, guys, we're going to call it a night. Appreciate all you guys tuning in. As always, keep calling, keep practicing. More importantly, though, have fun, and we will see you guys in 2 weeks on the next episode of Wapiti Wednesday Live Q&A. And that will be after, so happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.
Yeah, happy Father's Day.
All right. We'll see
All
you
right,
guys.
guys.
Have a great night.
Thanks a lot.
Congratulations
Enjoy
on
your
the
retirement.
Thank you.